I've called this segment No BS's takes on The Boys are absurd. I don't know whether they're absurd or not, but I'm going to assume they are. And if they aren't, well, I'm going to look kind of dumb. So there we go. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, so just a little introduction, I guess. I am a really massive fan of The Boys. I finished watching season 2. I won't give any spoilers. Hopefully, if you're wanting to avoid spoilers, you may want to tune out of this one. I don't know. This video could contain spoilers. It might not. Anyway, I thought the first season was really fantastic. I watched it twice over before the second season came out. The second season came out, and I'll be honest, the first half was a bit, okay. I guess it was kind of just like in a bit of a dip from the highs of the first season. And, I kind of had a bit of a dip, and I was like, okay, not so great. But then the second half of The Boys Season 2 was incredible. It was so good. It was, in some ways better than the first season, I would say. Okay? So, in any case, needless to say, yeah, I think like, I don't want to spoil it, but obviously there's certain things that happen around the middle of Season 2 that you're like, what the hell, that's crazy! And then the ending, the twist at the end, incredible. So, in any case, I'm a big fan of The Boys. Now, The Boys Season 2 Girl Wash's main villain. So, just to give you a bit of insight, there's a character called Stormfront. Now, in the TV series, they've gender swapped some of the characters. So, for example, I don't know the full detail of it. In any case, in this case, a character called Stormfront was a guy in the comics and is a girl in the TV series. Okay? So, let's watch the video and let's see. My take on it is it didn't make any difference to me. Stormfront in the TV series was a great character, really well acted, really great performance. I've got literally no issue whatsoever with the fact that there was a gender swap. Stuff like that doesn't really cross my mind. It doesn't really bother me. But the No BS, apparently it did. So, let's see what he's got to say about this.
Hello and welcome back to No BS. Today we turn to talking about a popular show on the Amazon Prime streaming service called The Boys. The Boys is a pretty cool, pretty interesting concept based on the superhero genre that's become all too popular in recent years. Now, that trend seems to be fading. It seems like the 10-year phase of superhero comic book related movies might be coming to pass sometime soon, especially being signified with the Avengers Endgame wrapping up the big Marvel Cinematic Universe era. And although they have some movies planned for the future and there's some other ones coming out, it's definitely on a decline. And that's what makes The Boys so much fun. It was actually a really interesting, really different take on the genre. And it premiered about a year ago on Amazon Prime. They just finished their second season as well, just about a week ago. And that's why I wanted to talk about this show and its second season and some specific instances where it seemed like it kind of got a little woke. It got a little influenced by progressive, left-leaning politics. There was a certain moment or two that I want to kind of expand upon and discuss, while also discussing the show and giving you like a general wide, vague review of it, a vague introduction, and in addition, talking about what I liked, what I didn't like, and give you guys the breakdown as usual. So to start things off, the biggest kind of glaring woke move from the recent season was they girl washed the main villain. So they introduced this new character. This character was from the comics as well. It was based on The Boys, a comic book series, and they brought in this new character and they girl washed the villain, and I think you're going to realize why once we get into this and discuss it further. So before we get to that girl washed villain though, let's just explain the series. Essentially, The Boys is about this kind of
girl washed. It's like when they say whitewashing a character, so you take gender swapped, so in the comic, Stormfront was a dude. In the TV show it was a woman. You can get girl wash from the Body Shop. True.
Ground group of normal humans who are trying to stop the superheroes in their universe. Now, this universe kind of resembles a mix of Marvel and DC. There's this superhero team that's called the Seven, and they're kind of like the Avengers or the Justice League. They're like a group of obviously 7 heroes, and they all have their different little things like you'd expect. Like Homelander's the leader. He flies. He has laser eyes. He's kind of like Superman. Then there's Maeve, who's like kind of like a Wonder Woman counterpart, and each hero kind of reflects on other heroes, but that's not really the point. In this universe, the heroes are actually really, really bad. They're corrupted. They're actually owned by this corporation called Vought, who uses the heroes to kind of like get power and control, and they put on this front of them being like the Justice League or the superhero group, but behind the scenes it turns out they're actually not that good. They actually have covered up a lot of crimes and bad things they've done, and that's essentially the setup.
Oh my god. Why are these people so bad at like just explaining a TV show? The thing is, the problem is, so basically The Boys has got some critiques of like capitalism in there, right? It is essentially, there's like the critiques of like police, of the military industrial complex. It's also quite a clever critique of how superheroes are used to launder the image of law enforcement for society. Yeah? Pinhead from Hellraiser 2 changed to male from novel. Oh yeah, it's like Batman. Yeah, it's like Batman. Batman's a great example of like laundering the image of law enforcement to make it palatable for like society. So we were like, yeah, cops are based actually. Oh hey Dario, how's it going? But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, and he obviously doesn't want to engage with that. It is a very surface level reading that he's given here of, oh yeah, basically it's like superheroes, but if they were bad. Yes, it probably is Dario, so sorry, this is, yeah. Okay, come by tomorrow maybe. I won't do any boys spoilers tomorrow. Bruce Wayne could afford to end homelessness and reduce crime by giving folk money, but he prefers to beat them up instead. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, obviously it's a very surface level reading of The Boys. There is actually quite a lot going on there, other than this very basic surface level reading, but that's all they can really engage in is, oh yeah, what if superheroes but bad? Well, no, it's like a critique of the genre, it's a critique of capitalism, it's a critique of the military industrial complex, it's a critique of all of it. And it's actually quite well done, And I'm going to be honest, as a British person, Billy the Butcher is one of my favourite TV characters in some time. Like, he's just an absolute legend. I'm going to be real with you, okay? I think Billy Butcher is, like, absolutely based. I know he's a bit of a baddie sometimes. He's a bit of an anti-hero, right? He can be a bit of an anti-hero. But yeah, based. It's also a critique of corporate liberalism, which is pretty based. Yeah, that's very true. The way in which that Vought play on, like, oh, we've got, like, what's she called? Maeve. Maeve is played up as being this lesbian and a representative of lesbian and all this stuff. It's worth watching. I'd really recommend it. I really enjoyed it.
And that's what happens throughout the first season. You discover that these heroes have done bad things. They've killed people. They've helped bad people. And they're not really the heroes you'd expect like in a regular Superman or Batman type movie or show. So from there, The Boys is actually the counter hero group. It's a group of mostly humans. There actually is a couple superheroes that end up teaming up with them. But essentially, they're called The Boys. It's a group of guys and a couple girls that join them as well. But they're trying to stop the heroes. And yeah, the first season was really great. It was really interesting. It was cool to see this concept play out on video. It's a very edgy kind of comic that was, very violent, lots of cursing, lots of deaths, lots of blood, guts, and gore. So it's very, very cool to see something rated R like this make it to a streaming service. But with season 2, it definitely started to kind of wane. I don't think they had enough juice, or they just, I don't know, it doesn't seem like they might have had the same budget or something. Like, it just didn't go as well for the second season. I think the initial shock had worn off, and then where they went for round 2 wasn't as interesting, wasn't as captivating. There was a lot of different plot points, but essentially, I'm not going to ruin it all, but just so you know, there are some parts here that will get spoiled, like a few bits about the characters, but I'm not going to try to like spell out the whole ending. So with that said, let's jump into season 2. Season 2 featured this
I actually agree with him that like the first part, I said earlier, the first half of the season was a bit meh. but then it got better.
Character called Stormfront. I'll go ahead and pull up the article. This article from the Wrap talks about how it was gender flipped. It says why the boys gender flipped Storefront with Aya Cash. And then this is a picture of that character. We're going to need to talk about that more because in addition, so not only were they gender swapped, or as I would call it, girl washing. Sometimes they call it whitewashing when a white character takes another part. But girl washing is okay. So is black washing and any kind of other washing. The main thing really is you can't have men or white people or straight people in main parts. So essentially
you can't have men or white people or straight people in main parts. Talking about a TV show that primarily features white, straight men as the main parts. There's going to be spoilers potentially, yeah. Yeah, he's only capable at the very surface level. There's no further analysis going on there. And for me, like, if he wants to do this review, like, the point of a review is you dig into it a little bit and you talk about some of the underlying themes, in my opinion anyway. You know, if I wanted to hear, oh, it's superheroes but bad, but if they were bad, I'd go to like a teenager to get that sort of opinion, not someone that apparently does media analysis.
They went with this Aya Cash chick, and from the get-go, she's a very woke actress, a very woke representing person. She had other shows where she had played into this sort of like left-leaning liberal takeover.
The Deep was black in the comics, really? I didn't know that.
Over of media, and it really just seemed like the boys were embracing that, bringing her in, letting her girl wash this typically male hero from the comics, which again isn't the biggest deal in the world. Like I said before and many times in these videos, like I'm not necessarily against girls or girl washing or changing characters. Like that's not my MO. I love the ladies and they can have great parts in shows like this, of course, but the real
I love the ladies. Oh my god, it's so cringe. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And the reason that like whitewashing and blackwashing is different is because there's been an overwhelming amount of like male white straight representation throughout history. So if you then take a black character and make them white, well, that's bad because you're just like adding and perpetuating this issue but making it worse. Whereas if it's the other way around and you're taking a white character and you're making them black, a straight character making them gay, a male character making them a woman, well, that's kind of flipping it round. That's the difference, you know? That's the difference. So there is a difference there. I mean, I don't know. I don't care that much about like this conversation particularly. Everything should be gay. Yeah, they should. In The Boys, Gianfranco Esposito underlines clearly that Disney and Ford were Nazi supporters. Well, yeah, this character is a Nazi, right? So.
Point is when it's coupled with all this liberal politics and what's going on in the world today, and you'll see other references in this season that we're going to get to that really show that it's a combination of things that make it this kind of progressive garbage. Now, did it ruin the show? Was this the reason this season was bad? Maybe partially. I don't think it totally did it. I think it more had to do with the story and maybe...
He says it's this season's progressive garbage. The first season literally laid the groundwork explaining how capitalism's bad, big corporations controlling these sort of interests is really bad, the military-industrial complex is bad. There's also a storyline about a woman getting sexually assaulted and that all coming out, and how it's dealt with really badly by like the corporate overlords. But it's this season that's so progressive because they've added a woman. Okay.
Not going anywhere. In addition, there's another actor on the show, the Quaid guy, like the main younger guy on the show. He's come out very progressive. He's come out against Trump and said some very crazy things about the president and politics. So it goes in line with the way the show has been going over the last year with this new character. They're gender washing it, gender flipping it to this girl. And in addition, the other part about this villain that needs to get explained is the fact that they came from Germany. This character is like a German character that was actually a hero that their army made a long time ago. I believe it was during the time of World War II. So you all know that World War II had these bad people in Germany at the time. They did many bad things, and that's where this character actually originally comes from. You could see in this new version, she switches over and is American. She has American flags now, but she's kind of like secretly German, secretly bigoted, and has this kind of background to her.
Yeah, that's a play on, I think, I read that as a kind of a little bit of a play on Operation Paperclip. The idea that they took, obviously, some Nazis that had engaged in terrible crimes against humanity, but because they were like, useful to some degree to the American technology development and stuff, they brought them over and it was all okay. Oh, they were Nazis, but they're fine now because they're going to help us build these jet engines. I don't know why he's making such a big deal out of this. Like, I've not read the comics. I've not read the comics, but my understanding is like, yeah, this is a similar storyline, I think, to the comics. I don't know.
Because also she happens to be really old. She doesn't age. So she's actually from that era and turns out to be like racist and stuff like that. Now, that is something that was in the comics too. I'm not sure to what degree they played into that, but it does come up now at an interesting time. This is a time in our history in America where everyone gets called a 1940s German. Everyone's using that word that they used to use, that they used to call themselves. And the leftists just love calling that to everyone. They call every conservative a 40s German. They call Trump one. They call every single person they don't like that term. So to see it play out in a show like this that's run by progressive people, starring progressive people, it definitely is a sign that they're going that way too. They're bringing that up.
Wait, but this woman in the show was an actual literal Nazi, racist. And what? Sorry, I don't understand what this problem here is. Like in the storyline, okay, I'm about to do a massive spoiler, so close your ears if you don't want spoilers. In the storyline, it turns out Stormfront is like one of the original superheroes and existed in Nazi Germany, was married to a Nazi who ended up setting up the superhero company, and essentially there's like Nazi ideals, white supremacy underlying the entire company. That's the storyline of the thing. And yeah, isn't that, I've not read the comic, but isn't that part of the comic? Isn't that part of it? The idea that like it's all set up on white supremacy Nazi shit. Like, that's a big thing about it, right? I've not read the comic. I'm actually going to get the comic. I'm going to buy the comic. I might buy it after I finish streaming today. I really want to read the comic. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's eugenics. It's eugenics. Like, I don't know. Why is he so... Oh, I don't know. Let's
for a reason. And lastly, I'll get to this article, but I do want to just mention the third kind of main woke point before we expand more on this and read why they think this person was gender swapped. But the other last point is there is a beatdown moment at the end of the season. Like I said, I'm trying not to reveal too much spoilers, but essentially they had this girl power moment that was very similar to what they had in Avengers Endgame. Actually, we mentioned that earlier, and there was a lot of like woke stuff coming into Marvel at the end of that series, at the end of their kind of phase 4 of films. They had the Captain Marvel hero. She teamed up with these other girl heroes, and there was even this moment at the end of Endgame. Many people remember this. We talked about it before because it just had all the girls come together for no reason. It was really cringe.
Oh, Stormfront knows immediately the comics. Anyway, yeah, there's a scene at the end. I don't know. I thought it was pretty fun. So basically, like all of the girls are kicking the shit out of Stormfront. All the guys get like blown away and stuff, but all of like the superhero girls are just literally kicking the shit out of Stormfront, and and basically one of the guys looks over and goes, "Fucking hell, girls really do get it done, don't they?" Or something like that. It was just kind of a fun moment. Like it wasn't like anything serious. Do you know what I mean? It was so. I thought it was really funny because the thing is at the time, all the women are superheroes, but all of the men are like just normal dudes. So obviously they can't contend with a fucking superhero. So the women have to step in and kick the shit out of her. It's so funny. I thought it was kind of funny. Like I don't know, but people like this get so sensitive about it. You know, when the thing is, again, if you look at like Hollywood TV shows, stuff like that, there's like a fucking history there of like dudes having these like super empowering moments of solidarity and camaraderie. Like it happens all the time with guys, and then when women do it, it's, oh no, look, the WHOMs have got a little moment of empowerment. Oh god, the SJWs are taking over.
And they just try to make this girl power moment. Now, that kind of happens in The Boys, too. The Boys show has this girl power moment where basically 3 of the girl heroes beat up this person, the villain, you know, they beat him up together and they kind of like girl power together. And that was the moment where I really realized, like, wow, they're actually kind of like overemphasizing the girls here. They have a lot of girls kind of getting more propped up because I think it honestly has to do with wokeness, has to do with liberal infusion, has to do with it being election year. They knew this show was coming out ahead of the election. And in addition, I think it honestly might even have to do with the name of the show. The show is called The Boys. I'm kind of surprised they stuck with that name because it's kind of like something that liberals might say is offensive, might say that's like sexist to just have a boys show, even though it's just kind of like the name. It's kind of like something that guys say when they go meet up with their friends. They're like, oh, I'm going to go hang with the boys. You know, it's used in that manner. But I really do think there might have been some kind of meeting at Amazon or on the production team, and they're saying, hey, we kind of have a boys show. We need to make sure we bring more girls in. And that seems like what they did with this second season, between them girl washing the main villain, like we said, between them, you know, also on the side bringing in that 40s German stuff. And then lastly, like I just said, they had that girl power moment where it was like all the girls are super powered, ganging up on the bad person, and it just all goes together to show why this kind of show kind of fell downhill. So with that,
the show fell downhill in the first half. This is what happens in the last episode, I think, that he was talking about mainly. Well, the girl power bit does. But, like, it fell apart because after, like, the crescendo of season 1, they obviously had to kind of reset a little bit. And obviously they had to reintroduce some of these new characters and some of the plot lines had to build. It was like a sort of like a pacing, I guess, in the plot. It wasn't because they added some fucking woms. What the fuck is he talking about? This dude's media analysis is so far off the fucking mark. It's unbelievable. It's all over the place, yeah. He literally just wants to say, oh, it got bad because they put a woman in it and then they had a girl power moment. Like, that's a minuscule part of this. Oh my god. These people just can't do media analysis. They just can't do it. They're just fucking terrible at it.
That said, let's read into the article and see what else is going on. Aya Cash joins the boys in season 2 as the newest member of the Seven. Aside from being a constant thorn in Homelander's side, Cash's version of Stormfront marks the Amazon series' biggest change from the comic book it's based on. In Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson's 72-issue run, Stormfront is male, but showrunner Eric Kripke had a very specific reason for changing the character into a female for the TV version. We wanted to sort of create Homelander's worst nightmare, and his worst nightmare would be a strong woman who wasn't afraid of him and proceeded to steal his spotlight, Kripke said Thursday during a virtual CTM panel to promote the season. I think that would hurt him way more than if it were a male character because he is a gaping hole of insecurity. So we're getting the kind of initial...
And also it's worth pointing out that there's plot lines in season 2 that, I mean, with Stormfront being like an empowered woman throughout it, because she is at the start, that's a very important aspect of the plot as well, and it's all kind of weaved in quite well when it comes to pass, and you see it all play out. But yeah, that's a big aspect of it, because essentially Stormfront comes in and steps on Homelander's toes and is like the popular media personality, and Homelander feels himself drawing back a little bit from popularity. Like, that's a big part of it. And then eventually the two of them end up fucking. So it's all a big arc. Like, all of it's a big arc. You know, and it does rely on Stormfront being the character she is in the TV series. It's not like she's just shoehorned in. Yeah, the source material had this girl power moment, but they're doing it for woke points. I'm surprised they stuck with the name. The SJWs would get upset with the name. I bet they added a woman power moment just to offset that. Ignore the fact I just said the comics had it as well, yeah. Anyway, let's finish watching
explanation. I'm not really sure if I'm buying it. It sounds like more of an excuse. It sounds like what you'd say to the press. Like, that's your strong kind of front, you know, pun intended, Stormfront, strong front. You know what I mean? Basically, he's trying to say that, like, oh, this is a good reason. But I feel like there were more political reasons for it. I feel like they wanted more girls in the show. Reasons. I find it interesting that they would change that when they stayed true to most of the other stuff. In the Amazon series, Cash's Stormfront is also very social media savvy, which Kripke said allowed them a more modern way of showcasing some of the hateful ideologies that the comics version of the character is known for harboring. In the comics, The Boys takes place between 2006 and 2008, when social media was very much in its infancy. A lot of hate and negative thought these days, if you look online, is packaged in really slick social media attractive ways, Kripke explained. It's not like the old Jews with crew cuts in the 1960s newsreels anymore. He added that Cash represents how some of those movies...
I just want to point out here, in the second season, one scene that I thought was really good is it kind of showed you how stochastic terrorism works. It was actually like a really good scene. And it shows this kind of like schlubby guy listening to Stormfront, listening to the rhetoric, listening to like Homelander's speeches and stuff. And you can just see that over a course of time, how he gets sort of radicalized. And then he ends up shooting someone. And it's like, fuck me, like that's actually quite a good demonstration of how hate movements work in the modern age, you know?
Movements are led by young people who are trying to hook in a new generation, and we sort of wanted to reflect how insidious that is. So this is referencing the social media savviness, and I'm starting to see them more leaning towards where this is really going. Like, I think they're trying to like kind of say, oh, this is how the conservatives are, this is how the extreme right-wingers are, they're really good with media and the internet. People know that Trump is social media savvy, so they're trying to kind of like associate that savviness with these hateful ideologies. Like I mentioned, it goes all...
No, it's literally talking about stochastic terrorism as per the scene that plays out I just mentioned. What is he talking about? What's it got to do with Trump? It's nothing to do with that. It's talking about the way... Oh my fucking god. This dude having to bring it back to Trump. No BS narration cut really choppy. It's all just bad.
all the way back to the World War II villains. And now we're talking about it here, which is actually a descendant of them. Like I said, Stormfront is from Germany in this story. And yeah, it's just kind of like painting the conservatives and the ones that are good at memes and the internet and social media. It's trying to give it like a sinister kind of backstory to that.
What?
And it's almost...
Yeah, there's a thing called stochastic terrorism that is referencing and talking about. That is Mario 64. What is this dude talking about? It's like we watch different shows. Oh my fucking
done
God.
in like a kind of way. They say you're dog whistling. That's why they talk about it being slick and, you know, highly produced and well done. They're trying to like imply there's like a bad side to that. And surely there is, if this was actually being said honestly and straightforwardly. Like obviously there's people that make propaganda that's slick, that's trying to manipulate people to bad things, but that's not what real right wingers are going for. That's not what real actual like Trump people are. I think that's the implication, is that all conservatives kind of have this secret trick to media and they trick people and like dog whistle them or, you know, whatever, gaslight people and stuff like that. But it's just not true. Really,
no, it's not. The rhetoric he's referring to is literally them engaging in like hardline anti-immigrant rhetoric, basically, to put it simply. Like, they're trying to make people who promote hateful ideology seem sinister. Yeah, I know, right?
it's just the liberals kind of making up this backstory because they're losing the battle. They can't handle social media. They can't make memes. They're not good at, you know, gathering an audience and like making people interested in what they have to say. They have to force people to do what they want. They're the authoritarian communist side, and they're just jealous that we can win votes and get people on our side through actual truth, fact, and interesting takes and jokes. That about wraps things up. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Tell me if you watched The Boys, if you enjoyed the first or second season. What do you think about them girl washing Stormfront and all these other things mentioned in the video? Hopefully you have time to comment. Also, if you have a chance, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on the next video.
What ridiculous ending. Oh yeah, they did that bit because they wanted to say that like the right can't meme, or the right use. Sorry, no, the right use meme. The left can't meme, so they had to do it so the right use memes, and that's bad for some reason. Absolutely clueless. They're just jealous. Yeah, no, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.